Łukasz. I don't speak Polish. My name's Łukasz. Is it recording?
Yes.
Oh, is it? My name's Łukasz. I don't speak Polish.
I'm Lukasz.
Łukasz.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'll introduce you and we roll. Yeah.
Łukasz. My name's Łukasz. And go.
Lukasz Hennessy.
Click.
Hello, everyone.
Click.
Hello, everyone. You're.
Sorry. When are you going to be serious? I can't. Okay.
You can't. No, you don't need to be serious.
Okay.
It's actually the best.
Okay. This is going to be a long night. Okay. And go.
Your name is Lukasz.
No.
Yeah,
Łukasz.
You even don't speak Polish. You cannot correct my pronunciation.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. You are watching MoveOn, a storytelling podcast where I invite people from all over the world to talk about how does it feel to live abroad, to live in another country, about cultural shocks and etc. etc. And today, I think this person may share a lot of cultural shocks since he came from Australia, and my friend is Lukasz. Łukasz. Oh my God, I made a mistake.
It's Łukasz.
Łukasz. Thanks for coming.
That's my pleasure. And I'll say g'day, mate, but we never say that. We don't ever say g'day, mate.
No, you're kidding me.
No.
I watch a lot of YouTubers from Australia and they do say that.
They just say that to publicise Australia. No one says g'day, mate. We can call a friend right now and she won't say g'day, mate.
No?
No.
So what's the greetings in that?
I can't say it on air. It's very bad words.
Really? You greet each other with bad words?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not Lucas or something?
It was, but it was spelt strangely. So when the school teachers would read my name, they'd be like Lukazia, Lukaz, because in the English spelling it's Lukcas.
Okay.
And here it's Lukasz. And it blows their mind. They don't know what's going on. So from teachers trying to rap my name or sing it, I just said my name's Luke. Yeah.
So it always was a struggle in your life.
Yeah. Luke Hennessy.
Okay.
Like the cognac.
But is it your real last name?
That is my real last name.
For real? I was like, no, you gotta be kidding me. Like, it's a nickname. That's like 100% a nickname.
No, it's 100% my name. The story is a long one. But I'll keep it small and simple because everyone asks your name's Łukasz from Australia. So you got a Polish name and you're from Australia. So, I mean, the long story short is that, I was born in Poland. I was adopted to Australia. 34 years later, I found my family in Poland. I was told that I have 7 brothers and sisters that have all been looking for me. So I flew to Poland 2 years ago in the summer, met all my brothers and sisters, and babcia. Words can describe how I felt, but they still don't have the meaning that I want them to feel, like amazing, like when you have words that can't describe how I felt. That is actually what comes to mind. So after I met my family, I flew back to Australia, and then decided that I needed to learn more about Poland. I needed to learn more about Europe. So I packed everything up and moved to Poland, and I think Poland is amazing. When I got here, the fascination for Australia is amazing. Like everyone asked me about the snakes, the spiders, the kangaroos.
Of course, you are like an alien.
The
for
sharks.
us.
Oh, I didn't know how far Australia was until I got here. For example, when I came here the first time, I went to a wedding, and I went to my sister's husband's brother's wedding, something like that.
Okay.
But they all knew this Australian guy was coming, and everyone was like, they started calling me Kenguru. I was like, that's fine.
They're not offensive at all. Yeah, okay.
No. I mean, okay, so a few moves on the dance floor, and but I remember this girl come up to me, and I'll never forget this. She had really huge eyes, right? And she grabs my arm and she takes me outside and spoke very good English, and she's like, I need to know something about Australia. Can you please tell me? I was like, sure, She goes, it's about the kangaroos. And she said to me, she goes, is it true that the kangaroos come and knock on the door? And I was like, no, honey, they ring your doorbell. And she was like, really? I was like, no, they don't. They don't knock on doors. What's going on? Like, are you scared of the spiders? Yes and no. Are you scared of the sharks? When you swim in the ocean, you're in their world. When you see a snake, you're in his world. So, I mean, yeah.
I mean, what does it mean in his world if he, like a snake, can be in your toilet? He's in your world.
No, they don't eat the toilets. Come on, then. I mean, if you're in the outback, yes. So that's why we leave our toilet seats up. So don't get angry at an Australian if he leaves the toilet seat up. It's a habit. Because if you leave the seat down, the spiders sit under the seat.
Okay, no snakes, but spiders.
Yeah, spiders. Yeah, no, they're the ones that were hurt.
Okay.
So we leave the toilet seats up. We flush before we use the toilet. But when you're in the city, you don't do that stuff. I mean, when you're in the outback.
What do you call outback?
Outback.
Outback.
What do you
like
call
a countryside?
Yeah, but
this Australian language.
It's not a countryside. It's
village, town.
No, it's the outback. It's help me, Australia. What's an outback? Okay, the outback is like a rural property, like a farm. A farm. There we go. Farm. It's a farm. But your farm and our farm is very different. Your farm, you have geese, chickens.
Yeah. Okay.
Like cows. What else have I seen? All sorts of animals.
Yeah, like domestic.
Yeah, our outback is kangaroos and.
Still a farm, but with a kangaroo.
Oh, emus. We've got emus. You know what they are?
No.
You don't know what an emu is? Shut the front door. It's a bird.
Emu. Okay.
Emu.
The bird.
Yeah, and it's really fast at running.
Yes. This one, like that looks like a dinosaur.
It's funny that story about the toilet because I had this client once and she said, oh, my auntie lived in Australia for about 3 years. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I said, she did live in Australia for 3 years? She's like, yeah, she came back. I was like, well, why? And she goes, the insects got too much for her. And one day she went to sit on the toilet and this big gecko thing come out of the toilet. And she said, I'm done with Australia. I'm coming back to Poland.
Gecko means?
Gecko like a lizard.
A lizard.
Yeah, so she went to sit on the toilet and a lizard sort of touched her leg and oh yeah, no, you know about it. And she left the toilet seat down. That's her problem. So when this whole thing went down with the adoption thing, and from March 5th, at 1:54 in the morning when my life changed. I mean, it was very tough for me because I had to take in, I had 7 brothers and sisters and everything like that. But one of my really good friends back home, his name is Maximilius. We used to call him Max. He was actually Polish. And it was just such a coincidence that he was Polish and all of this happened. And he was telling me a lot to do with like Polish tradition, what might be strange for me is normal for people in Poland. And he was like doing a lot of translations for me and all that. And he was a very big help in making sure that I didn't freak out, which I did freak out a few times because it's really hard, when your whole family, I had an entourage of about 14 or 15 people, I had 7 brothers and sisters. Then all of a sudden I had 5 nieces and nephews. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden I had uncles, I had cousins, I had aunties and I had babcha, and they all wanted to know about my life and they knew about me ever since I was born, when I was adopted away. And I had to learn everyone in one night, mm-hmm. and it all got way too much for me. I couldn't pronounce people's names. I didn't know who was who. I remember my sister messaged me for the first time. I'm like, who are you? And she's like, I'm your sister. I was like, my goodness. So I had him help me a lot with food. And one of the foods was obviously pierogi. And he's like, he obviously makes it with his family that are here, who are Polish, in Australia that are Polish. And he says he makes it every Christmas, and he gave me the recipe. And I had a mate that was a really good cook back home. And we decided to make it, but for some reason we didn't boil it.
What did you do?
We put it in the oven.
Okay. It still may work.
It was terrible, actually. It was really bad. And then I sent a photo to my sister, and she rang me straight away with a hand on her head. It's like, Łukasz, what do you do? I was like, I'm making pierogi.
Okay, but what about your mom? She never done pierogi?
Unfortunately, my mum never really did much Polish stuff. Maybe around Christmas she would do that, that peas, apple thing and fish. But I mean, my mum never really wanted me to know I was from Poland. I mean, when I was adopted, there was one stage that I recently learned she would never wanted to tell me I was adopted. But then my father was like, look, we can't, you're going to ask about his name, Łukasz, down the track. And so they kept my first name out of respect and changed my surname. So mum, we never really spoke Polish. So we never really did anything Polish. My mum wasn't that. I think she wanted to forget about Poland because she obviously was from the communist times, and it was really, really hard for her and all that. So she kept it pretty quiet about the whole Polish stuff. And I remember when I first found out what my name was before I was adopted, and I'll try to say it correctly because it's a tough one. It's Barszczowski.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, everyone, but I think it's Barszczowski. It's like Barsz,
the soup.
Yeah, I know it starts like that, and then it has a little, I don't know,
Polish ending.
It sounds like I'm a famous ice hockey player or something. Lukasz Barszczowski. But I quite like Lukasz Hennessy.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. And I remember the first time I was at the airport with my dad, and I was like 16. And he's like, oh, I've got to show you something. He took me into my very first bottle shop. And I was like, oh, I feel so cool. I'm in here. And he pointed at the bottle of Hennessy. And he's like, look, it's your name. I was like, what? And he goes, you cannot drink this till you're 18. I think once I illegally bought something and I got enough money for it, I bought a bottle of Hennessy. And I don't think my dad was happy, but he was proud, but unhappy. I had a bottle of Hennessy in my room when I was 17. I said to Dad, I'll never drink that until I'm 18. And I remember I drank it and I filled it up with apple juice and kept it on my windowsill. And everyone knows Sydney, Melbourne, everyone knows the East.
Okay.
Right? I'm from all the way to the other side in the West. I'm from this little town called Perth, a little city called Perth.
Is it little? Because this is one of the biggest.
It's the most secluded city in the world. There's nothing near us. I mean, we got towns and stuff. The towns are getting pretty big now and very, very nice. But it's a very secluded. It's like online shopping. You're going to wait 2 or 3 weeks. Here, next day delivery. But I'm from the West. I think the West is better than the East. I'm sorry, people in the East, because the sun sets over the ocean. There's nothing like going to the beach and seeing the sun fall over the ocean. I think that's one of the most beautiful things you've ever seen.
Okay.
It is like the closest I've seen to that in Europe. I went to Ibiza when I first got here. I went and saw a friend there, and we were sitting at this restaurant, and literally we had the sun setting over the ocean. It was an amazing view, and it reminded me of Perth. Really, really did. And especially if you've got a storm coming in and stuff like that. It really...
storms. Is it like a thing? Storms?
We do
dangerous?
We do have storms. Just recently we had a cyclone pass close to my city, and that's the first one I've ever come across.
Okay.
So
not that often.
No, we have sunshine 9 months of the year. It's always hot. It's always so hot in Australia. It's like it gets annoying hot. Like I remember one year there was temperatures. I think it was like we had like 14 days when it was over 40. And I mean, the first few days you're like, oh, this is not good. After that's a joke. You just get angry at yourself. Like you're always wet, right? Because you're sweating. The aircon in your car works so well. Then you go to your house and it's not as good. You get annoyed at that. When you have to go to the shop, it's everything's just so frustrating. Good luck eating an ice cream, on the walk home. That melts down your arm.
All year long or specific time, like a hot season and not hot season?
I mean, when I first got here, I never knew how much the climate played a part. Like, I mean, people in Australia, some have never seen snow. I'd never seen snow until I got here. And it's sunny 9 times of the year, 9 months of the year.
9 months. Okay.
Yeah. But I remember I was, the first time I saw snow, it reminded me of this story when I had American friends come to see me in Perth, and they're like, we've never seen a beach in our life. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll take you to Cottesloe, I'll take you to Scarborough. So we went down to Cottesloe Beach, and they like get out and they're like smelling the air, and there's 3 of them, and I was looking at them like, okay, a bit strange, like smelling, they're like, oh my God, the salt's in the air, the breeze. I'm like, weird. Then they go down and they put their feet into the sand, and they're like burying their toes into the sand, like, what a feeling. And I was like, oh. So I just sort of sat on the grass. I was like watching them, and then they're like running for the water, and I was like, it's gonna be cold. They get in, they get up to their knees, and they're doing that cold thing, and they're like splashing the water at each other and running into the waves, and I'm like, this is so weird. They're like throwing sand at each other like kids, and these grown adults. But then when I saw snow for the first time, I was the same. The guys at work will never forget the moment where it started snowing, and we were driving 2.5 hours south of Poznan, and it started to snow, and I was like running down the hill, and I didn't realize how slippery it was, and I fall over, and my mate's laughing at me, and then we're like getting these snowballs, and like we're throwing it at each other and making my first snowman, and I was getting the snow and putting it through my fingers, and I think they were looking at me like I was looking at my American friends, like, weird. Like, this is weird. We stayed in this little town overnight, and my mate, my buddy from work, Dalek, he stayed sort of outside with me for far too long. Like, our feet were cold, our feet were cold, our toes were wet, our hands were like frozen because I just couldn't stop getting snowballs and throwing them at him, and he was throwing them at me.
Gloves, like, no. Yeah, but it's your first snow. You wanted to experience.
The feeling and all that. And then we found a swimming pool, and it was frozen over, and I'm hitting it with a stick. It's an amazing view. I mean, I went to Park Cisadella here, and my goodness, when that was snowing, man, it was incredible. And all the dogs. All the dogs were jumping through the snow and trying to find their ball. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. It was amazing. I actually started crying because it was such a beautiful sight, and then my cheeks started hurting because obviously it hurts. Yeah, you can't be doing that in the snow. And I wasn't really prepared because I got lost in Cisadella. It's a really big park, and my feet were wet when I got home.
Okay.
You know what Cisadella is?
Yes, but it's not that big to get lost.
Well, I found the tanks. You know, there's tanks there.
Yes.
Yeah, I found the tanks, and then I decided to walk further to like this fountain place where me and Kuba once played hacky sack. And then I lost my orientation, and I didn't know where I was. Lost and scared like a little boy. I don't know where to go. I'm trying to think of like other cultural things that happened here. Like, that's different to Australia. I mean, the fashion's very different here.
Because you don't use flip-flops? We don't use flip-flops.
We call them thongs.
Thongs is like girls use.
Yeah, we call it thongs. Yeah, but if you think about it, it's like
it's the same, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Danny, who you had on the show, me and him used to sit at the square, and we used to just laugh about our cultural different sayings. Like, thongs was he thought it was the funniest thing, and the thing that you use to put around your canned drink, the little blanket,
okay,
right? We call it a stubby holder, right?
Okay.
And they call it a cozy or a koozie. Please correct me. I think they call it a cozy or a koozie, one of the two. And I was like, what the hell word is that? And apparently stubby is another word for your men's. So when he says a stubby holder, it was actually quite funny to him. And I mean, there's all these like...
And the fuzzy drink? It's not a fuzzy drink.
Fuzzy?
Not fuzzy.
Fosters?
No, the one on the podcast that he was saying. It's not a fuzzy drink. It was icy.
Oh, slushy.
Slushy.
Yeah, it's an icy. I know exactly what he's talking about. It's an icy. And like in hot countries, you get this, and it's literally, you probably now Googled it. You go to the machine, it's like ice that's flavored, right? But we call it a slushy. Because it's like the slush on the road, you know, when it becomes that ice but water.
Okay.
It's like slush. But
Melted thing.
yeah, it just
okay.
actually doesn't sound too good now, does it?
I was a witness of you talking to Danny about those different words.
Yeah.
And it was like better than a movie to hearing you arguing about different terminology. It was an awesome night.
Yeah, I mean, another one, we call it a shopping trolley, and they call it a cart, a cart.
Ah, okay.
Right, the cart, as they would say. But then Danny's like, well, why do you call it a shopping trolley? And I was like, well, dude, you're in the shops, and it's a trolley, right?
But your terminology close to English?
Yeah, I think it is.
Like British.
So my adopted parents, Mum was Polish and my dad was English. So we didn't speak Polish at home because my dad couldn't obviously speak Polish. So I got a lot of English words. So I say vitamins instead of vitamins. I say crisps instead of chips, instead of flitki, you know.
Now you say flitki, like three options you have.
I say flitki now because I think it's like...
Because you're Łukasz, I know.
Because I'm a Łukasz. But some of the words I think are just magic here. I really love smacznego. I think that's beautiful. Like, you don't have to be eating much to get a bon appetit, you know. But like, it's as simple as like I was walking home the other day, and there's these homeless people that sort of on the corner where I live, and I just had I had a packet of crisps, and the guy's just like smacznego, and I was like, oh, I gave him I think 55 groszy after that, so it was really nice. There was a cultural shock when I got here.
Okay, yes.
A very big cultural shock with a lot of different things. I mean, I was trying to think of like some of the stories. Like when I got here for Christmas, we surprised Babcha, and we got here for Christmas. And I was trying to figure out the Christmas tradition, because in Australia, the Christmas tradition is it's always so hot. It's always it's uncomfortable hot in Christmas. So, you know, the traditional Christmas is you wake up, you know, as, you know, let's say you're 21, 25, 30, you wake up, you know, you'll spend it with the family, but you'll be irritable because hopefully that family has an air conditioner, right? You get the food, like you're outside with the barbecue, or as you guys call grill, and you'll cook outside really fast, go inside, sit by the aircon, and then you'll travel home, and then you'll just get drunk for the next 3 days. because we got like a big cricket game, like a big sporting game after Christmas, and that's how it is. But when I came to Poland, my God, so
it's the same. I mean, people spend time with the family.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's cold. That's the only thing.
Yeah, but I mean, babcha, I'll tell you that the day that my sister goes, there's this traditional fish, what is it?
I don't know the name of the fish, but yeah, it's one of the dishes.
It will come to me, and it is a carp.
Okay.
And being in Australia with all the fishing we do, and we see a lot of majestic fish and beautiful, like coloured fish and all that. And then I get told that a traditional fish is a carp. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I've never seen one. And then my sister goes, you're going to Babcha's house today, and you're going to clean the fish. And I was sort of thinking, like, kill?
Yeah.
It's like, oh. So I get to Babcha's house, and Babcha doesn't speak any English, and at that point I didn't speak any Polish, and the translator was too slow for Babcha. And I said to my sister, I was like, oh, so where are the fish? And she goes, in the bathroom. And I was like, what? I go into the bathroom, and the carp is in a bucket in the bathroom swimming around. I was like, what's going on here? And Babcha's like, you know, telling me to like get the fish, and I'm chasing it around the bucket. I couldn't find it. It's slimy. And I was like, this is really strange. Like, we buy fish dead, right? We don't have it swimming in the bathroom.
Actually, that's a very extreme situation when you have to like kill and
eat. And I was like, I'm a bit shocked with all this. It was a big fish. So I grabbed this slimy fish. Babcha's getting angry. She pushes me out of the way. And the way she just grabbed this fish and she hugged it, and this thing's like rattling in her stomach. She puts it on the chopping block. She gets like a towel and puts it on top of that, and then whack, gone, dead.
Okay.
And then she gives it to me, and I was shocked. I was shocked and horrid. Like, I was like, my goodness, my grandma's an assassin. So then as I'm trying to fillet this fish, I see Bubcha with the next one, and it's like rattling in her stomach. And she's like, "Are you ready?" And I was like, "Oh, what?" Whack, dead. I was like, "Oh my God. Oh, I couldn't even kill this fish. It was too big."
Oh, wow.
And I bet we don't kill fish like that back home. It's a bit different. We don't bring it home alive and put it in our bathroom. And speaking about eating food and stuff like that, like people always ask a lot about kangaroos. And yes, we eat kangaroos back home.
I'm glad that I'm not asking those questions.
Everyone
You are
asks.
just receiving. You're just giving.
Everyone asks, is like, do you eat kangaroos? And it's like in the fitness industry, kangaroos quite common because it's
Fitness industry.
Yeah, because it's a very lean meat.
Okay.
So you're getting, quite a lot of, let's say, your macronutrients without the fats. So yeah, I mean, you buy it in shops like.
So it's legal.
Yeah.
Okay.
You buy it in the normal shops.
Okay.
I mean, you can get ones off the road, but you don't know how long they've been.
I was sure they are under protection.
There are so many of them. Back home, me and my buddy, we flew to the East Coast to purchase a car, and we drove it back. And yeah, the car was ruined when we got back. It was missing a wing mirror. It had dents through the side of the car, the front of the car, because the kangaroos come out at night, and they'll jump into the side of the car. They'll like jump next to the car. It's amazing how many of them there are. So many.
So they don't scare. They don't scare.
They sort of. I think they're really dumb. Like, they sort of will jump a couple of times, and then go left and right, and you just want to hope it's away from the car. But there's lots of horror stories back home of like kangaroos hitting your windshield and coming through and then kicking people to death.
Yes,
because they're trying to escape.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of ones that people will swerve and go into oncoming trucks. It's a very common thing back home.
Wow.
You'll see these signs along the Nullarbor and stuff like that. Like, it's safer to hit than swerve because people, doing 110 trying to swerve. So the more you drive, no one wants to hit an animal, but sometimes it's a better option than to swerve and flip your car or go into, like, we have road trains, big long trucks.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So people are like, "Oh my God, you eat kangaroos and all that." It's like, yeah, but you eat goats here, so it's like. Goats is like,
for you, this is unacceptable or something, or it's weird.
It's like, well, you're telling me I can't eat a kangaroo, but your emblem on Poznan are goats, and you eat goats. So,
yeah, it's the same. Like in Italy, they eat horses, and
what?
Here, yeah, it's normal.
They eat horses.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I've been in Italy a lot, and I have a lot of Italian friends, and one of them, she was here on the podcast, and she was selling this, like, there is a national dishes with horse meat. So you eat kangaroo, Italians eat horses.
Yeah, but horse is different. When I first got here, there was a kangaroo that escaped the Poznan Zoo. Did you hear about this?
No, really?
Yeah, a kangaroo escaped Poznan Zoo, and it was bouncing around somewhere. You know how many messages I got? So your kangaroo has escaped.
Hey, take your pet back home.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like,
is it yours?
But I mean, in the zoo, they're timid. They eat from your hand. You get to see the little joeys and stuff. But in the wild, they're big things. Like they've got these shoulder muscles and biceps and big chest muscles, and like they look dangerous, man.
Okay.
I mean, where I lived, we didn't see much, but you see a lot when you play golf. Because I never kept my ball on the fairway. Mine was always in the bushes somewhere. So the snakes and the kangaroos, I'm trying to.
So it's not like a golf park. It's a wild area, open.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
And golf courses are quite big, so they put them in the middle of nowhere. There was this one time when I was golfing down south. Went with my dad on this little trip, and the guy's like, "Oh, just beware of the kangaroos because we've got a few out on the golf course today." I'm like, "Kangaroo, whatever." And there's signs everywhere. It's like, please don't feed the kangaroos. And it's like, okay. So I hit this ball once and went around the corner. I was like, "Oh man, gotta go find my ball." Right in the middle of about 30 kangaroos was my ball. I was like, "Oh, what?" I said, "It's gonna they could have moved." I couldn't picture this ball must have rolled past them. So as I'm getting close to him, I'm like waving my golf club around and like trying to make noises. A couple of them left, a couple of them propped up, and I'm like, I remember what happened in 2001. I was like, I threw my club at like just on the ground near one thing, looked at it and looked back at me. I'm like, I just want my golf ball. So eventually the greenskeeper came with his buggy and sort of drove him away. He's like, yeah.
Buggy?
Little buggy.
What's that?
Little golf buggy.
Golf car?
Golf cart?
Yeah, it's like golf cart. Cart or golf car? Car.
Golf car?
Yeah.
It's a buggy.
Ooh. Tell me the kangaroo story. The kangaroos.
That kangaroo story. Yeah, that's a classic. Okay.
It's a classic, yes.
So, people always ask me, the kangaroo's dangerous, and there's this story back when we were young. I mean, we were like...
Yeah, how old were you?
We were like 15, 16.
Okay.
Just got our car licenses, so we got to travel a little bit further than Perth to go surfing and stuff. And so we were traveling down south, and there was 3 cars of us. We all got our surfboards on the top of these cars that shouldn't have surfboards on them. We stopped at this truck stop, and we all had to go to go to the toilet. And I had this mate. I mean, I don't want to drop names, but we had this mate, and he was. I mean, if you could picture this guy, he had this short hair like this, but they were like dreadlocks, and he was a wild dude. Like, he was the wildest guy. I mean, if he got into trouble, it will be him, right? So we all stopped, and we're all peeing by the trees and stuff like that. And I look back at my buddy, and he's like, shh. I'm looking at him, going, what's the matter? And he's like, I'm like, okay. And so he gets over this fence, and I'm like looking at him, oh, what are you doing, dude? Don't do this. And he's like waving at us, like, and he went up to this kangaroo, and he's like, tried to give it the boxing move. And this kangaroo just looking at him like, and he's like pretended to box this kangaroo, and this kangaroo just went like that. That's all the kangaroo did. And then you just see drop to the ground. And I was like, oh no, what's going on? So I'm trying to finish off. I'm running to see my buddy, and he's on the ground, and he's like, this kangaroo's just looking at us. And he's on the ground all curled up. The kangaroo has sliced him from here right the way down to here with this little claw grab. And this guy's on the ground and like bleeding from everywhere, and this kangaroo just bounces away, and he's on the ground, and we all like, oh, what do we do? We're young, we don't know what to do. We all took our shirts off. We wrapped him up like a gunshot victim. We put him in the back of the car, and I mean, we were so far from anywhere. Like, we didn't know where to go. Back then, we didn't have GPSs. It was just like nearest hospital, 102 kilometers this way or something, or like 55 kilometers. So we got in the back, and we're driving, and we're looking back at him, and he's like, we're like, stay with us, don't die. And he's like, blood's seeping through and all that. We get to the hospital, and I mean, it wasn't even a hospital. It was just a town, a doctor or something. Okay. And we get there, we get about, we're like, help. And the lady's like, oh my God, what's happened? Thinking like it was a farming accident or something. He's like, a kangaroo punched him. And the nurse is trying not to laugh, and she's like, well, okay, well, this way. So unfortunately, he didn't come on our surfing trip. He got transferred back to Perth, and we went on our surfing trip and came back, and he has these scars from here to here, and I can't remember how many stitches, but it was a massive amount. Like 3 years later, it was a pretty cool scar, and but he never tells anyone. I'm sorry that I'm killing your story now. He never tells anyone a kangaroo punched him. He says he got in a fight in Northbridge and he got stabbed, but. No, but
it's an awesome story. You can brag about it. Like, kangaroo, like, scratched me.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't sound cool there in Australia.
Really? Okay, I get Australia.
I mean, it's like, oh yeah.
Come here and tell the story here.
Come here and I wrestled a goat. It's like a goat kicked me. It's like
okay. Now I got the reference.
Yeah, but if you go back to Australia and be like, oh, I wrestled a goat and it kicked me, it's like, oh, really? Living in Australia and living in Europe, the 2 biggest things I've noticed is travel. So when you live in Australia, if you want to travel somewhere, it takes a lot of time, with the flights. You got to go from like here to Singapore to wherever you want in the world. And I mean, you got to take at least 2 weeks off work to get to the country, settle in, see it, come back, deal with the jet lag, and then go back to work. Here, there's a long weekend this weekend, and we're thinking of going to like, Germany for the weekend or going. It's a drive away, It's amazing.
Europe
like
is like this. Yeah.
When I first got here, I remember I went to went to Spain, and that didn't take very long to get there. I went to Amsterdam. That was a train ride through Germany. It's amazing that just in a couple of days you can be anywhere you want in Europe. It really amazed me that in Australia, we went to Bali a lot, Indonesia. I'm in Perth, and to fly to Sydney, it's a few hours, but it's the cost. It's cheaper to fly overseas than it is in your own country. It's
that's interesting.
I remember, I'll never forget this. I went to Indonesia with my girlfriend at the time, and it was like the flights there, like return, like $495 to fly overseas to Indonesia, Bali, and Bali's very cheap for Australians. Not anymore, because they've learned that our money's good. And then we had to fly back, and then we had to fly to Sydney for a wedding. And that cost us $899 return. And I was so angry at the terminal. All right. I put my ticket on the table, and I slid it over to her. I said to the lady, I was really angry about everything. I don't know. And I was like, tell me this. Why is it that it costs me $300 to get to Bali and back, but $800 to get to my own country and back? And with a straight face, she said, it's something to do with the wind. And I looked at her and said, that's the most ridiculous answer I've ever heard. If anyone wants to travel to Australia, Sydney, Melbourne is the party central places to go. It's really good. The sun doesn't set over the ocean. I'm sorry. You won't get that gratitude. They're very busy cities. I can compare it here to like Warsaw. It's very busy. The driving's crazy. The people are just full on. I traveled to Sydney once with my girlfriend at the time, and we were there, and we get to this pub, and the guy's like, oh, what drinks do you like? And I was like, oh, we're just here from Perth. And he's like, oh, so far away. He's looking at us like we're from Europe. And he says, oh, well, come to the side of the bar and I'll get you 2 drinks. He said to me, he's like, oh, what 5 whiskeys do I like? I just randomly pointed at all these whiskeys, and then turns to my girl and was like, oh, would you like something fruity, sour, She said something. Next thing, he gets this cup and he just hits this, didn't know what it was at the time. He hits this counter, up comes an ice block, and he catches it in the cup. And the next 15 minutes, he was throwing bottles around, lighting things on fire. He was like doing all these cool bottle tricks, and we were amazed, right? Absolutely amazed. I get this little glass like this, right? Slid over with 5 different drinks in it. It tasted really well. My girlfriend gets this drink about this big with straws, sparklers, flowers, colors. And then that cost us, I think, $95 for 2 drinks, which is diabolically, like, it was so expensive. But we got a show. But
okay, but still.
One drink was like 60 something, and it was the most, like, you could buy like a bottle of liquor for that. That's the first thing about partying I knew. But, when I came to Europe, man, the partying here, I was here for the New Year's, right? The whole of Poznan, and people in Poland obviously know this, I didn't, that the whole square was full of people throwing like wine bottles in the air and let them smash on the ground, and the whole place is just going crazy. And fireworks were going off for 4 days. I was just falling asleep in my flat, and and I was like, oh my God, what's got people still doing this? And when I was in my apartment one time, and I hear like all this noise, like someone on a megaphone, and I looked and all these lights are going on. I was like, what's going on here? So I walked down my street, and the place was full of people. It's that square with the waterfall in Poznan. And it was the uprising for Poznan. Like I didn't know what it was. And everyone's like waving these little flags. I was like, oh, so I found one on the ground, picked it up. I was like, yo! Didn't know what I was doing.
I'm local,
yeah. My name's Łukasz. The party vibe here is so happy, and everyone's having so much fun. And I think so.
Okay, in Australia is what said?
Well, in Australia, we have a huge alcohol restriction rule. So my good buddy back home works at the door at a very, very good pub. And he tells me the rules I have to go through. And if you come to the door with a drink in your hand, you can't get in. If you come looking intoxicated, you won't be let in. Sometimes at the door you'll be asked questions. They won't let you in. When you're in the bar, if you're intoxicated in the bar, they'll kick you out. If you're being loud, they'll kick you out. There's a group called the LSU, and it's the Liquor Enforcement Unit, and they go into the bars undercover and they enforce these rules of drunken behavior and all that sort of stuff. So when I got here, and there's people sleeping with their head against the bar with a bottle with a beer in their hand, and then they wake up an hour later and keep drinking. I was blown away by this behavior. When you have a shot of alcohol in Australia, you have to have the shot at the bar. You can only buy one shot per person. All right, you can come back. But the more and more times you come back, the more that bar person will see you drinking and will have to cut you off eventually. And I get to Poland and I go to this Pivko, whatever it is, and you can buy like 13 of them and walk around with this paddle and have them like that. And I was like, this place is insane,
It is insane.
And then like people in Poland sitting at their table with a vodka bottle in a wine cooler. And I was like, what's going on here? So we had this scenario once when it was actually my Polish buddy, and we went to the casino, and the casino is the most strictest place to get into. You got to be dressed well, you got to look smart.
Ooh.
Kind of rip shirt. You have to look smart. You have to show that you care. And there's that many cameras around the casino. They know from the moment you leave the taxi if you're drinking a drink or anything like that. There's a few entries. So anyway, me and my buddy Adam, we get into the casino and we start drinking at this famous cocktail bar where you got to go up this lift and you got to have like black shoes on and very posh thing. We start drinking there like animals, right? We're drinking so heavily. Then we're like, there's a nightclub in the casino, hardest nightclub to get into, because they don't want intoxicated people getting in. So I said to Adam, we'll have to go early and we'll get a stamp on our wrist, right? Because it's cheaper entry. So we went there, got a stamp on our wrist, went back and drank some more. Me and Adam were tore up. Like, we'll try get into this club. We get to the club. I was like, okay, Adam, pull yourself together. Pull out your ID, all right? Have it in your hand so you're not fumbling around with this ID. So we get to the door. I'm first. Big security guard gets my ID, looks at my ID, he's like, how many drinks have you had tonight? And I was like, we got here, me and my buddy, we got here about 3 hours ago. And we had 2 beers, watching a football game. Then we went and had a cocktail, and then we had something to eat. And then we just had we had another beer before we came here. And he's looking at the ID and he's looking at it, he's like, what do you have to eat? I was like, we didn't eat, obviously. I was like, we had some chips or something. He's like, what was the last drink you had? And I was like, it was a beer. And he's like, what type of beer? And I was like, I think it was a Tui's or something. He's like, how long ago was your last beer? I was like,
holy God.
And I'm keeping a straight face, because I'm pointing at my buddy and I'm looking at my buddy at the back. He's got his bobblehead going on. And then, I was like, we just finished it. And he's like, all right, I'm going to let you in, but your first drink has to be water, okay? And then just before I was about to walk off, he stops and he goes, you're not lying to me, are you? I was like, no, we're good. He lets me in. Adam comes up to him, gives him an ID. He goes, how many drinks you had? He went, 1. The bouncer said, out. He said, out. I was interrogated for 13 minutes and he can't even keep himself together. I was like, fuck.
Oh my God, that's so fun.
1. Yeah. Adam, if you listen to this podcast, we'll never forget that moment.
Thanks for coming, and I really appreciate you found the time.
Thank you.
It was actually very eye-opening to hear your stories. How different is that, and how crazy is that? And I'm looking forward to meet you more and more, and to know more and more about your country, about you, actually. And see you next time, guys. Thank you. Bye.